Next, to introduce our mayor, we have City Council President Tim Shuffitt.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to introduce to you our Honorable Mayor, Kristen S. Brown.
Thank you, Council President Shuffitt. To the City Council, other elected officials and appointed officials, thank you for your presence here today, and thank you for all you do for the community. And to the citizens of Columbus that are here tonight, thank you for being here and taking time out of your busy evening to be with us. Before I get started, I want to give a special thanks to the people who participated in our opening ceremony. Thank you, Ben Jackson, our Columbus Township trustee, for welcoming everyone. The processional was performed by members of the Southern Indiana Pipes and Drums, and thank you, gentlemen and one young lady. Let's give them a round of applause. The presentation of the colors was performed by the Columbus Police and Fire Honor Guard. Thank you, gentlemen, for a really nice job. And my good friend, Wendell Houck, a distinguished Army veteran who led the pledge. Thank you, Wendell. And then the national anthem, I think she snuck away, was sung beautifully by Michaela McDowell. She's a member of the Columbus North Choir. Oh, thank you very much, Michaela. She did an absolutely outstanding job. And not last but not least is my pastor from Sandy Hook United Methodist. Thank you, Pastor, for that invocation. I am honored and truly humbled to stand here tonight as your mayor and report to you the state of the city. Columbus is a special and remarkable combination of people and place, and over the past year, our city has become an even more prosperous city, a safer city, a healthier city, and a city of opportunities for all. The state of Columbus, Indiana is very strong. More men and women are going to work in our community than at any other time in our history. We're at all-time record highs for both the number of people in our community who are working and the number of jobs in our community. Currently, we have 52,000 people working jobs in our community and 41,000 residents employed. That's 52,000 jobs being worked by people that live here or commute into our community. With 41,000 residents employed, that means we're a net importer of 11,000 workers. We have significantly more jobs in our community than people able to work them. In terms of job growth, there are 2,100 more people employed in our community than there were just a year ago, and 4,600 more people employed in our community than there were just 3 short years ago. Last year, our largest employer, Cummins Inc., once again revved up the production lines at the Columbus Engine Plant, formerly known as Plant 1. They're well on their way to adding another 500 well-paying jobs. In January, I had the pleasure and opportunity to start the very first engine that rolled off that line, the new 5-liter V8 Cummins turbo diesel inside the Nissan Titan full-size pickup truck. It was a resounding reaffirmation of Cummins' commitment to Columbus, Indiana. Due to our record-breaking job growth, our population is growing faster than the rest of the state and nation. We are currently the fastest growing city in Indiana with a growth rate that is more than 2.5 times the state's average. By the major measures, our quality of life in Columbus continues to be better than the rest of other communities in our state and in our nation. Our per capita personal income is number 1 in the state. Our unemployment rate and our poverty rate are both significantly lower than the state and national averages. Our violent crime rate is the lowest in the state and lower than 90% of the nation. Relatively, life is great in Columbus, Indiana. But unfortunately, the good life still doesn't extend to everyone in our community. particularly those with low incomes. Even in this time of great economic prosperity, 1 in 3 households in our community doesn't make enough money to make ends meet. We also are not immune to the pervasive challenges of our time, like a widening skills gap between the capabilities of our workforce and the needs of our employers, a property crime rate that is much too high, and millions of dollars still in deferred investment in aging infrastructure. Therefore, we aim even higher. Our vision is to be the very best community of its size in the country. It's a bold and ambitious vision, but we are Columbus. We have an unshakable confidence in our own ability to create an even more remarkable future, and we're already well on our way. To lead us toward the future we envision, we've developed a community-wide strategic plan, Advance Columbus. Advance Columbus serves as a comprehensive roadmap for us as a community to solve our toughest challenges, leverage our greatest strengths, and capitalize on our most promising opportunities to continually advance the quality of life for all of Columbus, leaving no one behind. Our plan's priorities are fourfold. 1, to advance quality infrastructure. 2, to advance economic prosperity and well-paying jobs. 3, to advance the safety and health of our community. And 4, advance opportunities for all. All of these priorities are mutually reinforcing and create a virtuous circle. At the City of Columbus, we're doing our part to advance Columbus. I'm going to highlight some of the progress we've made in the last year. Our public infrastructure is the vital underpinning to our economic prosperity and the safety and welfare of all. For years, Columbus, like many other communities, has underinvested in maintaining our most critical infrastructure, our roads, leading to a substantial deferred investment of approximately $30 million. In the last couple of years, we've dramatically reversed this trend by making record-breaking investments in street repairs. To date, we've invested approximately $10 million to reconstruct and resurface approximately 40 miles of our streets. And this year, we're on track to invest even more, $8 million, to do the same. This will represent the largest investment to repair city streets in the city's history, breaking even last year's record of just over $5 million. To give you a sense of relativity, in comparison, in the 10-year span of 2002 to 2011, the city invested an average of just over $400,000 a year to repair streets. We've invested 12 times that last year, and this year we're set to do 20 times that. We're doing more than just repairing roads, we are completely reconstructing them. And as we do, we're adding bicycle lanes and sidewalks to make them safer, not only for motorists, but bicyclists and pedestrians. Since 2012, we have either completed construction or begun the design of 6 major road improvement projects. And these road improvement projects represent a combined investment of $20 million, and that's funded by our allocation of federal transportation dollars. Last year, we completed the $2.2 million reconstruction of Carr Hill Road. I see some of you that live along that road and are probably happy. Last year, we also started the storm sewer construction for Indiana Avenue, and just last month, we started the complete reconstruction of the street. This is a $6.2 million investment and the very first substantial infrastructure improvement to East Columbus since it was annexed 60 years ago. We're also in the process of designing the complete reconstruction of Rocky Ford from Taylor to Tally with an estimated investment of close to $5 million. And we've begun the design of the future extension of Maple Street from 27th to National, running to the east of Northside School. That's a $1 million project that will alleviate traffic congestion around the Forest School campus area and make it significantly safer for students. In addition to our streets, our airport infrastructure is critical to the transportation needs of our largest employers. The annual economic impact of the Columbus Municipal Airport is $650 million a year, making it the 6th top economic engine in the state. We've made major improvements to both the infrastructure at the airport and the services we provide to those who arrive in our city by air. Last year in June, we added a self-fuel farm. The service was the top request by pilots flying in and out of Columbus. Its addition is substantially increasing our traffic at the airport. Our airport terminal is the gateway for air passengers into our community, and it was in desperate need of a makeover. As with any of our entry points into the city, we want our visitors to have the best possible first impression. So next week, we'll finish a $700,000 renovation of the terminal building, creating a stunning and modern gateway to our community, one very fitting for Columbus and one we can all be proud of. Next week, we also begin a $5 million complete reconstruction of one of our 2 runways. This project will remove deteriorated asphalt on runway 1432 and reconstruct it with 10 inches of sturdy, long-lasting concrete. The funding for this reconstruction of the runway was from a grant we secured from the Federal Aviation Administration. Along with maintaining and improving our public infrastructure, public safety is job number 1 at the City of Columbus. And we're hitting it out of the park, protecting you, your family, and your property better than ever before. We now have more police officers on our street than at any time in our community's history, and never have they been more productive. Our officers no longer just react to crime. They are proactively preventing crime, and we're doing that by battling it on 2 fronts: choking off the supply of drugs into our community and proactive community policing. Drug abuse is our most vexing challenge. Not only does it destroy the lives of the abuser, it's the root cause of the majority of our crime. Most burglaries and robberies stem from addicts stealing property for cash to feed their habits. And much of the violent crime and chronic poverty in our community are rooted in drug abuse. Consequently, we've made drugs public enemy number 1, and our police officers are waging war on the dealers of dangerous drugs in our community. When you deal drugs in Columbus, this is what comes knocking at your door. In the last 3 years, crackdowns of meth and heroin dealers have increased nearly 20-fold, and that number is guaranteed to go up this year, because in January, we announced an unprecedented partnership with the Bartholomew County Sheriff's Department and the Prosecutor's Office to form a dedicated, full-time joint narcotics team. The team includes newly dedicated sheriff's deputies working together with our experienced Columbus Police narcotics officers, and also a dedicated prosecutor from the Prosecutor's Office. This partnership enables our officers to better track illegal drug trafficking and act far more effectively than acting alone. An increase in our police department's manpower this year has enabled us to retain the dedicated community policing unit we began trialing in 2013. This select group of officers concentrate on proactive patrols and partnering with neighborhood watch groups to take their neighborhoods back from criminals. And all of our officers on the street continue to accelerate their community policing efforts by proactively patrolling neighborhoods in between calls for service. In both of the past 2 years, these proactive community policing patrols have exceeded 15,000. That's a more than 500% increase from 3 years ago. Never in the history of our police department have our men and women in blue been so proactive. And it's yielding substantial results. Stability has been restored to our hardest hit neighborhoods. We've cut property crime 6% last year, 23% in the last 3 years, and cut violent crime nearly in half. Our police officers' daily routine is to deal with victims of crime and suspected criminals, and they are authorized to use force. Nowhere are the tenets of good government more important than they are in the Columbus Police Department. Last year, the Columbus Police Department earned the highest recognition a law enforcement agency in the United States can earn when it was awarded accreditation from the Commission on Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agencies, otherwise known as CALEA. While the award is considered the gold standard for law enforcement, and fewer than 3% of law enforcement agencies, both in the state and nation, have ever attained this honor. And while other law enforcement agencies in the state and nation struggle to maintain the public's trust, the citizens of Columbus can be assured that our police officers are serving with the absolute highest levels of professionalism and integrity. Our police officers and firefighters are dispatched to every medical emergency call in the city, and that's because they most often beat the ambulance to the scene and they can begin immediate life-saving treatment. Last year, Columbus police officers responded to 40 heroin overdoses in the city limits alone, compared to only 2 in 2012. Therefore, in January, we equipped all of our police officers on the street with Narcan, a medication that reverses the effects of drug overdoses and saves lives. In just 3 months, our police officers have already saved the lives of 3 young people in our community who are unresponsive from heroin overdoses. Last year, we trained and certified 9 firefighters as paramedics, bringing our ranks to 34 out of 96 sworn firefighters. More than 1/3 are now capable of employing advanced life-saving techniques, such as administering life-saving drugs. This is an all-time record high for the fire department and allows us to meet our goal of having a paramedic firefighter at all 6 fire stations, 24/7, 365 days a week. This, you may not understand, but this significantly increases your chances, your family's chances, the chances of a loved one of surviving a life-threatening medical emergency. We've made vast improvements to our ambulance service as part of our new partnership with CRH. Our goal was to meet national standards by arriving on scene in 9 minutes or less, 90% of the time. We've greatly exceeded that goal in the first 2 years of the partnership, and last year, our ambulances arrived on the scene in less than 9 minutes, more than 94% of the time. And we're receiving this improved service without the nearly $1 million a year tax subsidy of the past. We continue to advance the health of our community. A healthy community includes not only access to quality medical care, but also living healthy lifestyles and living in an environmentally safe and responsible community. While we continue to aggressively choke off the supply of drugs to our community, this is a never-ending battle as long as the demand for drugs still exists. So we're not in denial about this challenge. The President of the United Way and I co-convened a public-private coalition that we're terming Substance Abuse and Mental Illness Health Coalition. And we're exploring ways to direct more leadership and greater resources toward the prevention and treatment of substance abuse and mental illness. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, but the good news is we've come together and we've begun to tackle head-on these vexing and chronic health issues that plague our community. We have an outstanding park system that provides fun-filled, healthy experiences for our kids, families, and everyone. However, Years of neglect and lack of capital investment in our parks led, in some cases, to significant deterioration of our facilities, including, in some cases, non-functional conditions. We've been aggressively investing more than $6 million, $4.4 million of public money, and $1.8 million in private donations to preserve and improve these existing facilities and ensure they are once again safe and inviting places for today and years to come. This investment includes more than $3 million from a public-private partnership to preserve and update Hamilton Center. The improvements include a new roof, a refurbished ice rink, new refrigeration equipment, expanded ADA restrooms, and a renovated community room. And later this month, we'll be officially cutting the ribbon on this extensive renovation in an official grand opening celebration. Our investments also include $1.1 million in enhancements to Donner Aquatic Center and the surrounding park. This includes a new roof, new pool filters, tennis court resurfacings, new pickleball courts, and new landscaping. We're also making great progress building out connections for our People Trail. In November, we cut the ribbon of a key piece of the People Trail, a connection under the State Street Bridge continuing along Haw Creek to Lafayette Avenue, and this was funded by generous private donations in the community. And just last month, the Columbus Redevelopment Commission unanimously approved an engineering contract to begin the first phase of improvements along the State Street corridor, including what would be our first urban People Trail connecting East Columbus and downtown Columbus. And at next month's meeting of the City Council, I'll be asking for the approval to start the engineering on this. We've also begun planning a riverfront people bridge at the Pump House property to provide pedestrians and bicyclists a scenic river view and a safe People Trail connection under the 3rd Street and 2nd Street bridges. A contract to begin engineering work on this exciting connection will be decided upon at next month's Redevelopment Commission meeting. We not only strive to provide a safe and healthy community for humans, but we are also dedicated to providing a safe and healthy community for our pets. For the 3rd year in a row, Animal Care Services has achieved a 100% adoption rate of healthy dogs. No longer are we putting dogs down due to space constraints in our shelter, and that's been a tremendous amount of work for the people at Animal Care Services. Our adoptions of both dogs and cats were at all-time highs last year, breaking last year's all-time high records. And these results, we have many private volunteer groups that help us with that, and it wouldn't be possible without their help. One of the most recent ones we have that's contributed to an enormous increase in the adoptions of our dogs is with a volunteer organization called Canine Express. Last year, we transported 87 dogs via Canine Express, representing over a quarter of our dog adoptions. Those dogs are transported to no-kill shelters in New England primarily, where they can be placed into loving permanent homes. Being a healthy community also means being an environmentally safe and responsible community. And to that end, I'm proud to say that 2 months ago, we launched the City of Columbus's first curbside recycling program. This was the result of a public-private partnership with more than 24 private entities in the community, and it enabled us to provide this much anticipated service with no debt and no fees on our utility bills. The service to date has been an absolute hit, and the participation rate has far exceeded our expectations. More than 7,200 households, and that represents 45% of our sanitation customers, are already using the service, and that's exceeded our goal for the first 12 months of the service, which was 40%. So currently we're collecting 35 tons of recyclable materials each week, And at that rate, that means we're keeping over 2,000 tons out of the landfill every year. And we get more residents signing up every day. Okay, now I'll turn to our priority of advancing economic prosperity and well-paying jobs. The availability of skilled and talented employees is the single most important factor to our economic growth. We do not have a shortage of jobs. We have a shortage of job-ready and skilled workers. The skills gap is particularly acute in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. Therefore, our community is very focused on growing the pipeline of adults with 2- and 4-year degrees. However, the absence of student housing was a very large bottleneck to increasing enrollments at our colleges. Many students couldn't find affordable housing here in our community, and others just wanted to live in a campus setting. Therefore, at the airport, we worked with the Federal Aviation Administration to do something that's unprecedented, which is allow housing on an airport property. And then we partnered with a private developer who has invested more than $5 million to develop a high-quality student housing complex on the airport property. We broke ground on that complex last September, and students are going to move in approximately a month. The addition of student housing is truly a game changer for our workforce development efforts, and the importance of this milestone can't be underestimated. While our employers are clamoring for skilled and job-ready workers, many folks in our community remain unemployed or underemployed, and they cannot afford training or post-secondary education. Therefore, we're currently exploring the use of TIF dollars, property taxes collected exclusively from our businesses, to fund custom training programs at Ivy Tech for those in our community, and the programs would be designed to fit the very specific needs of our businesses here. We also have a goal to be very business friendly, and that means providing the environment and resources that ensure our employers prosper and create good jobs. And we're being successful. Last year, Area Development Magazine published its annual Leading Locations report, and Columbus, Indiana was named the #1 small metro for businesses in the United States. And we ranked an impressive second. Columbus also ranked second overall out of 379 metropolitan locations. Last year, we provided tax incentives for industrial expansions that added nearly 200 jobs and investments of nearly $70 million. Over the last 3 years, we've provided incentives to create more than 700 jobs and investments totaling more than $270 million. Because of our job growth and our population growth, our city is literally bursting at the seams, and available land for development, commercial, residential, industrial, is scarce at this point. Our priority is to ensure availability of land and to provide infrastructure to accommodate our fast growth in ways that minimize our expenses, our infrastructure investment, and our costly public safety services. We have a strategy to do so. It's threefold. One, to redevelop existing abandoned and neglected properties. We have a comprehensive long-term plan to breathe new life into State Street, and we're on track to start making important public infrastructure improvements to this business corridor next year with the goal of spurring private sector investment and growth. We recently approved the sale of the historic pump house to a local developer who is committed to restoring the building to its former glory and transforming it into a spectacular riverfront restaurant destination. it's undoubtedly going to be a very popular place for both community members and tourists, therefore benefiting our economy. We're also in the process of preparing to sell a couple of other riverfront properties that the city owns just south of the pump house. It's our vision that these properties be redeveloped for commercial use and add to what will be eventually a scenic riverfront in our arts district. 2, we are currently out of shovel-ready land, so to alleviate this bottleneck, we're in discussions with developers to redevelop the nearly 700 acres of the former Wellsboro Airport into a new industrial park. The goal is to form a public-private partnership to provide shovel-ready industrial sites for continued job-creating growth. 3, we've also completed the city's first strategic growth plan, and this is our plan to encourage and guide development outside of our existing corporate limits, and that's for residential, commercial, and further industrial growth. The plan gives us the ability to guide and encourage growth in ways that are cost-efficient rather than creating random sprawl. Our last major priority is to advance opportunities for all. And with the Mayor's Advisory Council on Safe and Affordable Housing, we're working to eliminate homelessness, ensure availability of more high-quality, affordable housing, and make our neighborhoods throughout our community safer and prouder. Last year, we created a public-private partnership with Centerstone and the local social services providers to establish the Columbus Homeless Outreach Program. This is a new program. It's very innovative, and it's bringing treatment services and other support services to chronically homeless, those in our community who suffer from mental illness and substance abuse. Without this support, these community members are extremely difficult to help and house, and they literally were falling through the cracks. And we've had the program going for 6 months now, and it's showing tremendous promise and success. And one data point is that our point-in-time count of the homeless in our community in January showed that no one was living on the streets through the harsh winter months in our community. We've built on our positive momentum of restoring stability to our hardest hit and most challenged neighborhood, the 9th Street Park neighborhood. And through another public-private partnership with Thrive Alliance and the Heritage Fund, we acquired 2 vacant and abandoned properties in the 9th Street Park area. One apartment building at 905 Wilson Street was recently demolished. And some of you who know this neighborhood, I know all of our police officers. 905 Wilson is an infamous address because this was literally ground zero for this neighborhood's illegal drug activity and violence that caused the neighbors to literally take cover indoors at dark. And it's soon going to be replaced with a high-quality, affordable rental housing unit. So we're very excited about that. We also rehabilitated a single-family home on 8th Street, just next to the park. This house was blighted from years of neglect, and now through that public-private partnership, it's a positive and stable home for a mother and her 2 daughters who came out of one of our homeless shelters. We also secured substantial state funding to help low-income homeowners in the same neighborhood to renovate their homes, to make them safer and more attractive. Our efforts to stabilize and strengthen our neighborhoods also includes ending the negative influence of blight. As part of an aggressive blight elimination program we began last year, we've ordered the repair or demolishment of 23 vacant, blighted, and abandoned houses and commercial properties throughout our community. And we've secured a grant of $760,000 to purchase and demolish another 3 dozen blighted and abandoned homes. Another recent public-private partnership funded the purchase of Town and Garden Apartments at Pearl and 5th Streets. We purchased this from Millrace Center. The actual owner is an affordable housing provider, a subsidiary of ARA. This preserved safe and affordable housing for our community's most vulnerable members, this for senior citizens on very low incomes. And the deal also provided at the same time funding for Millrace Center's operations. The site of the former Golden Castings Foundry, a decade-long source of blight in the center of our city, is finally starting to see new life thanks to our community development efforts. Through another public-private partnership, we've broken ground on Gateway Apartments, a $10 million, 60-unit, high-quality, affordable housing complex that's going to occupy about a third of that property. And at the same time, you could go over there. It's happening today. So delightful to see this. This picture was taken today. Our crews have begun clearing the rest of the site for an additional $25 million, 168-unit apartment complex. The redevelopment of this property is going to have a tremendous uplifting influence on the whole neighborhood and provide much-needed, high-quality, affordable housing. At the end of next month, we're going to begin Columbus transit service to and from the west side. This is finally going to enable our transit-dependent residents in the community convenient access to employment and shopping on Jonathan Moore Pike. And as an added bonus, it gives the growing number of residents on the west side a commuting option to places of employment in the central parts of our city. The addition of the 5th transit route, and again, it'll start next month, marks the first major expansion of our transit system in the many decades of transit service in Columbus. Well, those are just a few of the highlights of what we've been doing last year. How we continue to do things still remains every bit as important as what we do. And we continue to improve the transparency, accountability, and accessibility of city government. The meetings of all 10 major public decision-making bodies of the City of Columbus, including the City Council, are now live streamed and recorded for on-demand playback on our website. We had nearly 6,000 online views in 2013 when we started the service, and last year we had 9,200. So this represents thousands of viewers who otherwise would not experience their city government in action. I'm also very proud to report that last year, the state auditors published a completely finding-free audit of the City of Columbus. That's not easy to do and is a real achievement. We are heavily regulated, as the city attorney will attest. The audit revealed that our finances are well maintained and in order, and that there were no deficiencies and no operations out of compliance. It's imperative that you have the utmost confidence in city government, and therefore, our number one priority is integrity without compromise. Another core value is fiscal responsibility, and we are being very fiscally responsive. This year, our adopted budget for city operations is $49.6 million, and that's an increase of only $260,000, or just less than 1/2 of 1% from the previous year's adopted budget. With these budgeted expenditures, while they're effectively flat, our property tax rate actually declined this year slightly from $1.13 to $1.11. And this is because of continued growth of the city and therefore growth of our net assessed value, which increased about 4%. These are all of our employees, and I should say that the budget that I just put up on the screen doesn't include about our city utilities operation, which is about $14 million a year, and the housing authority, which is about $3 million a year. Those employees are included in these numbers. We have 445 full-time employees and close to 200 part-time and seasonal employees. We added this year 5 full-time government positions that directly impact services to you in a positive way, and those positions are 3 sworn police officers, which allow us to keep that dedicated community policing unit, the additional headcount at the city garage, which enables us to provide curbside recycling, and the additional transit driver, which allows us to provide service on the west side starting next month. So these new positions represent less than a 1% increase in the headcount and allow us to provide great new services for our very fast-growing city. We've substantially increased our overall cash reserves over the last 3 years, and we've done so with no trash fees, no new debt, and no new taxes. We've done this by finding cost efficiencies and just good old-fashioned spending less than we're taking in. And even if we account for last year's encumbrances, our cash reserves for our government operations have increased by nearly $16 million, or more than 66% in the last 3 years. And that's with record-breaking investments in our streets and our parks. These very healthy reserves have allowed us to make additional appropriations the last 2 years and this year to make up for long-deferred expenditures in infrastructure, facilities, and equipment. Just after assuming office in 2012, we assessed those deferred capital expenditures to be approximately $40 million. So we quickly went about developing a 5-year capital plan to catch up on those expenditures and start keeping pace with our annual needs. And at the end of this year, we will have caught up on the deferred needs of our parks facilities completely, reducing deferred capital expenditures in parks from about $5.5 million down to 0. We've also made tremendous progress in addressing the deferred investments in our streets. And we just appropriated more than $8 million this year for street repair and storm sewer repair. This is the largest investment in repairing infrastructure in our city's history. All of these combined investments in streets, parks, and our facilities, and also critical equipment in the past 2 years and this year will cut the deferred capital expenditure balance from $40 million to about $17 million, more than in half in just 4 years. We've done all this without issuing any incremental new debt since we took office 3 years ago, and the outstanding debt continues to decrease year over year. Our S&P rating remains a very strong AA-. In summary, the city's financial condition is very strong. The city employees have made all of this outstanding progress in addition to doing their daily duties of responding to calls for emergency services, picking up your trash, plowing snow, driving your buses, filling potholes, running numerous high-quality parks programs, and providing many other invaluable services 365 days a year. And so, at this time, I'd like the department heads to please stand and for everyone to join me in an enthusiastic round of applause and appreciation. Great job, guys. At the City of Columbus, we work every day to the best of our abilities to humbly serve you, to lead a path of positive change, and to advance our vision in ways that are consistent with our values. And we are all, the entire community, entrusted with an obligation to advance Columbus, to leave our city a better place than we found it, a more prosperous city, a safer city, a healthier city, and a city of opportunities for all. And we are doing it. The voice of the people from every walk of life, from blue collar to white collar, and from every neighborhood, from the west side to the east side, is being heard and valued. We've made incredible progress on a plan that advances all of Columbus, and we're laying the foundation for even greater things in the future. And best of all, we're doing it with no trash fees, no new taxes, and no new debt. This unprecedented progress could only have been possible and made with all of us, elected officials, community leaders, businesses, people from all over our city engaged and working together as a community. We are Columbus. We are one community. We are confident in who we are and optimistic in what we can be. We believe in ourselves and in our ability. We can become the very best community of its size in the country, and we're well on our way. Let's keep advancing all of Columbus. May God bless each of you, and may He continue to bless our great city. Many thanks. Thank you. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks again, everyone, for coming. The mayor, the city clerk treasurer, members of the city council, the board of works, all the department heads will be over here with the refreshments to talk to anyone who wants to speak to them. Thanks again.